Well, Elon Musk is now the richest person on the planet.
More than half the satellites in space are owned and controlled by one man.
Starting his own artificial intelligence company.
Well, he's a legitimate super genius. I mean, legitimate.
He says he's always voted for Democrats, but this year it will be different. He'll vote Republican.
There is a reason the U.S. government is so reliant on him.
Elon Musk is a scam artist, and he's done nothing.
Anything he does is fascinating to people.
Welcome to Elon Inc., where we discuss Elon Musk's vast corporate empire, his latest gambits and antics, and how to make sense of it all. I'm your host, David Papadopoulos. Tesla has been hit for the first time in its history with a strike. The company's mechanics in Sweden put down their tools in October. Now, the action is spread across other Nordic countries, with workers involved in Tesla deliveries in Denmark, Finland, and Norway jumping in and supporting their striking Swedish counterparts. The showdown could have serious implications for Musk, especially as the United Auto Workers Union sets its sights on Tesla's factories here in the U.S. Meanwhile, Musk is focused on bringing Alex Jones back to X. No, that's not a joke. More on that later. But to discuss the strike in Europe, we'll talk to Dana Hull, longtime Tesla reporter. Hello, Dana.
Good morning.
And Craig Trudell, our global auto industry editor in London.
Hey, King.
Then our regulars, Max Chafkin, Sarah Fryer, and Dana, will talk about the latest happenings on X, and they'll also give you a very special gift guide made up entirely of ads found on X. Very important. Okay, so Craig, we're going to start with you and in Sweden. And now Elon and Tesla don't have a factory there, but tell us exactly who is striking and why.
The union we're talking about here is IF Metall. So this is Sweden's industrial workers union, and it's really old. It's been around for 135 years. This is a country that ironically, it has a lot of consumers that you would think would be quite fond of a brand like Tesla, a lot of sort of eco-conscious, sustainability-minded consumers. And this is a union that has been around an awfully long time.
It's a consumer base that is indeed, environmentally focused, and it's a wealthy consumer base, right?
Yeah, and I think, Dana will know this well. I mean, this is a region that has been really important to Tesla's history. Norway is very close by, maybe the first country in the world to go electric in terms of new car sales. Sweden, is a relatively small market in the grand scheme of things, but it is Tesla's fifth biggest market in Europe. And so it is not an insignificant market for them, at least in this region.
It is the first strike ever anywhere in the world against Tesla, but it's not a whole lot of workers, right? We're talking about mechanics at a bunch of shops across the country. Is that right?
Yeah, this is really small. We're talking about 7 repair shops in the country, roughly 130 people. And so when we talk about this being the first ever strike at Tesla, I think it's really a function of that more so than anything. The fact that you have this union that itself is pretty big and has been around a long time. But, this sort of, people involved is quite small. It's also a country with really strong protections for organized labor and for unions where, Tesla can't tell workers, sorry, you can't join a union if you want to work here. That's just the way things work in the country. And I think that's kind of where we're seeing issues here is, the way that Sweden works is just very different from the U.S. where Musk is used to the UAW sort of striking up an adversarial relationship between workers and management. He doesn't want that, but I think he misunderstands really how Sweden works. This is a country that doesn't have a, minimum wage. This is something that the government sort of leaves up to management and workers to work out for themselves through the collective bargaining process.
So, Dana, let's pause there for a second and flesh that his thinking out there a little bit more for us.
I mean, Elon is not a union guy, and Tesla has never had a union. And what's interesting is that if you look at the history of the Tesla plant in Fremont, California, it did used to be union when it was owned by NUMMI, which was this kind of rare, very unique joint venture between General Motors and Toyota. So back in the 80s and then in the 90s, like NUMMI was a union plant. Then it went bankrupt. All the workers were let go. It was like this sort of desolate crater of a factory. Tesla bought it in 2010. And some of the workers that are there at Tesla came from NUMMI. So there's always been like a very small faction within the plant that worked for, that were UAW members who wanted to see the UAW come back. And in 2018, when Tesla was ramping the Model 3, there was a really strong effort to try to unionize that plant that ultimately kind of petered out and went nowhere.
We do know that he has a pretty dim view on unions. It's the libertarian in him. Here's what he had to say about unions a couple weeks ago at the Deal Book Conference in New York.
I disagree with the idea of unions. I think the unions naturally try to create negativity in a company and create a sort of lords and peasants situation. There are many people at Tesla who have gone from working on the line to being in senior management. There is no lords and peasants.
And so when he talks about the things and the reasons he's against unions, I mean, one of the things, and I believe that actually comes up in the Deal Book interview, he says things like, listen, I've got workers who work for me on the line who have become millionaires just working the line and from their stock options, right? Stock options that he says they would never get if they were unionized.
Yeah, no, that's a huge part of Musk's thinking, that everyone at Tesla has equity in the company, and that if you're in a union, you pay union dues to this sort of parallel management structure that he thinks is basically corrupt. And to his credit, I mean, he's not exactly wrong on some levels. I mean, the former UAW president did go to federal prison for embezzling funds from the membership. The whole thing about millionaires, I mean, there are a lot of early Tesla employees who made a lot of money. If there's actual millionaires, I have not seen any of them come forward, but they do exist. I mean, if you got in at a certain time and held on to your options and your RSUs and timed the market right, I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, there's lore around that within the plant for sure.
Yeah, and something that he definitely sells and articulates publicly quite a bit. But let's go back to Scandinavia. Craig, tell us, what exactly do these striking mechanics want?
So I mentioned before that this is a case of a country where there's no way for Tesla to get in the way of these workers unionizing. This is a matter of what that really means, and collective bargaining is the key here. You want to be able to, come together as a group of workers and hammer out an agreement with your employer as to, what sort of working conditions are set, minimum wages, hours that are worked, those sorts of things. I think, when you talk about repair workers, there are, of course, safety implications there. Working on batteries can be a dangerous thing when you're working on a car that maybe has been banged up and has a big hunk of rare earth and volatile materials within batteries. Right. And so, this is a case of workers wanting a collective bargaining agreement and Tesla refusing, and not just lately. This is something that goes back to 2017. This is something that the union has been pushing for years at this point.
Craig, at some point recently, you said to me, this struck you as a little bit of a case of Elon being stubborn, in the sense that Elon, the disruptor, wants to disrupt everything, is against unions. And even though the fact that this is the way it's been in Sweden for many, many years, and the vast bulk of workers work, under these kind of agreements, he can't get himself to accept it. And it almost feels like he's creating something of a tempest in a teapot here.
Yeah, because I do think that, of course, some people are going to say that, well, if you, agree to a collective bargaining, deal with workers in Sweden, well, this sets a precedent and, sort of slippery slope situation.
Slippery slope, yeah.
I don't think that that's what actually is at stake here. When, you talk about a collective agreement for 130 workers, is that really going to make a difference in this really difficult, fight that unions in the U.S. and Germany are going to try and wage to organize thousands of workers? I don't think it really makes any difference.
I just want to ask you this, Craig. this strike is spreading to a certain degree, right? Other unions sympathetic to the cause of these mechanics have also started taking part. What does that look like exactly? And what's the impact of that, Craig, on Tesla's business there?
Yeah, just because of the role that unions play in Sweden, the protections for them and sort of the ability for them to maneuver is really sort of open. And so there's an ability, legally for there to be sympathy actions across unions. So we're talking about an industrial workers union that has taken action against Tesla. But as a result of them taking action and striking Tesla, you've seen this, one after another, other unions within Sweden and in some neighboring countries that have similar systems also, sort of taking up the cause. And so you have postal workers in Sweden that won't hand over license plates to Tesla and are sort of holding up the delivery of those, which, of course, is going to complicate Tesla's effort to get new cars registered. You have dock workers that are refusing to, unload Teslas from ships. And you have, Finland and Norway and Denmark, these other unions in neighboring countries that are saying, nuh-uh, we're not going to help you, Tesla, in getting around the fact that these dock workers in Sweden are trying to, sympathize with, their compatriots in the Industrial Workers Union.
Yeah, I even understand, right, that the garbage pickup isn't happening because of one of these unions acting in sympathy. So things are getting smelly there around these repair shops. Okay, so Dana, that's the scene in Scandinavia and in Germany. Indeed, as Craig was saying, here in the U.S., Shawn Fain, the leader of the UAW, is now targeting Tesla, among other automakers, as the place he wants to unionize workers. Those unionization drives, I believe, Dana, are now underway. What's the status at this early stage?
Yeah, so the UAW is trying to organize everywhere, and they've had some announcements recently that they've gotten lots of signatures on union cards at different plants. But I'm going to pound this over and over again. Like they are gonna focus on the South. They are not going to focus on Fremont.
When you say the South, right, we are not talking about Tesla.
We're talking about like the Volkswagen plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and other auto plants in the South, where the UAW has tried to unionize before and actually had votes before. Like you guys, it just doesn't make sense to like go guns blazing at Tesla where they've never even gotten to a vote. They've laid a lot more groundwork at these other plants, and so I just get frustrated personally when it's like I get it. Everyone wants
I'm going to keep asking this question.
Everyone wants the Shawn Fain, Elon Musk cage match.
But if you are Shawn Fain and you have the views you do, and Shawn Fain is a new kind of labor leader in this country, and he's not messing around, and he's kind of got it out for the billionaire class, and you look at Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, is he not a juicy target to go after?
He's totally a juicy target, but if you're a union strategist and you've just won these historic contracts in Detroit and you want to keep the momentum going and grow your membership, then you pick the next easiest target, which is not Tesla. You pick where you're going to win. Like that's just like sort of basic organizing 101. And I think you've seen from the recent UAW commentary that like they're not focusing on Fremont. They're focusing on other plants that are largely in the South.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with Dana in the sense that the UAW has already sort of made big efforts at other factories, whether Volkswagen or Nissan down in the South in the U.S., and made it to a vote with those companies. It's tried and failed, but at least gotten somewhat close. It hasn't come anywhere close with Tesla, but I do think with Tesla, just on the last earnings call, these guys were talking about even taking, stickers off of parts and doing that to save, literally pennies per vehicle. The sort of, emphasis that they're putting on cost cutting as their growth has slowed down dramatically, this absolutely poses a threat for them when they're having to, whether they like it or not, pivot to a significant degree from, being a growth story to sales are slowing down. So, you have this situation of slower growth, falling prices, and some cost pressures on the part of this union momentum, whether it's really small cases in Sweden, a more powerful union in Germany, and a UAW that is, for all its weaknesses and long history of issues in the U.S., is, at least for the moment, looking resurgent in Detroit.
Listen, Craig, terrific to have you on.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to listening.
Okay, we're back, and joining me and Dana is Max. Hello there, Max. And Sarah. Hello. So, Sarah, as we talk X and Alex Jones and those things, I want to ask you, because I'm going to be honest, over the weekend, I did my best not to pay that much attention to this, just a little bit. So for those like me, what exactly do we need to know about what's transpired in the last 48, 72 hours?
Alex Jones, who owes a lot of money to the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting because he denied that it occurred for many years, is restored to X. And I think, what happens occasionally on the platform is Elon Musk will try to prove that he has created the network for free speech. He's done this before. He's outsourced controversial decisions to users via polls. And that's what he did in this case. So he tweeted out, "Let's see the will of the people. Should Alex Jones come back?" Same thing he did for Donald Trump, by the way. And a good portion of people, a solid majority, said yes. And so Alex Jones was restored. But not only that, Elon Musk did a Spaces, which was that live audio with Alex Jones, and sort of even gave him more of a platform than just restoring him to X.
Yeah. So now, Max, I know that you see, to a certain degree, some sort of tie-in between this kind of thing and the stuff we were just talking about unionization efforts at Tesla factories.
Yeah, I mean, so I listened to this 2 hours and 40-minute Spaces appearance. And, it's Elon Musk talking to Alex Jones, the famous Sandy Hook denier, harasser of the parents of dead school children, and so on, joined by Andrew Tate, who is currently under indictment for human trafficking as a men's rights activist, and Vivek Ramaswamy, the third or fourth place Republican presidential candidate, all kind of broing down about the awesomeness of free speech. And when you listen to this, it's just very niche. It's like a thing that you would not care about unless you are deep down the right-wing rabbit hole. And that, I think, has worked for Musk, but of course it's polarizing.
When you say it's worked for him, how has it worked for him?
I mean, when you listen to this appearance, right, it's just constant praise. It's a bunch of guys talking about how amazing it is. Elon Musk has saved the world. He's built himself a credible media following in the same way that Alex Jones is a credible media following. But of course, it's also created all of this polarization. And when you see these, union actions going on, in Nordic countries, and of course the threat of union actions in the United States, having Elon Musk out there doing hard right signaling is working against him.
It makes him more of a target.
Absolutely. These, organizing efforts, right, are partly about like person-to-person contact, but they're also partly about political context and cultural context. And he's doing himself no favors, right? He's like, most of these union activists are not going to be big men's rights, Alex Jones fanatics, to say the least. And we're not even talking about the customers.
Well, let me also make just one quick point about polling, which is that it is not the will of the people if you run a poll on X.
It doesn't seem
it's not super scientific. I don't know if this needs to be said, but in case it does, Elon Musk, he is the most followed person on the platform. But, we've found in reporting supported by a nonprofit digital rights group, Accountable Tech, that with less than $100, you can buy tens of thousands of votes for a Twitter poll easily. So,
wow. Well, that's tempting.
And it was, of course, as it always is with Musk, over a weekend, when that fan base is maybe online and most people are not. And I think that we just need to be careful about, when Musk says, I did this because it was the will of the people, I did this because this is what people voted for, these things are not at all democratic.
Right.
I want to say one other thing, which is that during this Spaces, Vivek Ramaswamy audibly peed. Like,
as a way to make a statement, or no?
No, just an accidental, like in The Naked Gun.
Okay.
It was just the
highlight. Now, Max, there is some chatter out there in some circles, that Apple, like it briefly banned Parler from the App Store for similarly lax content moderation after the Jan 6 insurrection, that there's chatter that they could perhaps do the same to X now. Thoughts?
Well, yeah, Musk himself has kind of driven that chatter, right? He earlier talked about the prospect that Apple would ban him from the App Store. There was this kind of summit between Tim Cook and Musk. I think that's an extremely unrealistic possibility. It definitely serves the interests of the kind of right who like the narrative of prosecution by big tech is really important. But the truth is, Alex Jones being on X, that's not the only platform that has allowed Alex Jones. Right now, you can go to the App Store and download Rumble, which is the main platform for Jones and Russell Brand. The other thing is, when Apple banned Parler in 2021, the context was very different. It was right after January 6th.
Right.
You had Jones, involved to some extent at least in the attempted insurrection. But that is not what's going on right now. The context is very different, and I don't think Apple is going to take action anytime soon. And really, that conversation is mostly happening kind of in right-wing corners of media.
None of this seems like a great way to lure back advertisers, with Disney and IBM and NBC, among others, pulling their ads, which leads us to our final little bonus part of the show, where we use the scrappy gang of smaller advertisers that have remained on X. Using them, we've created a challenge for our vaunted Muskologists. Using only the ads you see there on the platform, you have to select holiday gifts for the other panelists. And Sarah Fryer, you are up first.
So my top gift, and caveat that I just remember which ads get served to me the most. And for the last month, it has been over and over and over those heart-shaped pans that Paris Hilton is selling. Now, unfortunately, she has also...
I'm sorry, they're heart-shaped what?
Pans for cooking. Paris Hilton, maybe she's a great
pancakes? What are you...
Heart?
They're heart-shaped and they're pink.
Wow. And you can, and what does one fry or cook on these things? Anything?
Well, you just have to use the pan and say, that's so hot, because it literally is hot.
I see.
Get it? Okay,
so get it. Max gets it.
Maybe are not as available through X anymore, but I certainly am aware of them because of X.
Wait, Sarah, you buried the lead though. Paris Hilton is no longer working. Like she's part of the
she's
boycott,
part of the boycott.
Right?
Oh, so wait a minute, wait a minute. So you can't get this on X.
So is this violating the rules?
Well, you already broke the rule. We were 30 seconds into the gift section.
But it does show you. But what's the dynamic
challenge
here?
We'll go with this, Sarah, just because we all like you. Who are you going to give this pan to?
I mean, it was going to be a housewarming gift for Max.
Thank you. Right. Very thoughtful,
Max
Sarah.
Moving into a new apartment.
I have a gift for you, David.
Okay, Max. Hit me with it.
Okay, so I know you're a big horse racing guy. You're into the ponies. And, one of my favorite ads, you see a lot of ads for products that seem of questionable value, a lot of junky kind of as seen on TV type stuff. But there are also a lot of T-shirts. And one of my faves that I've seen advertised on Twitter is a T-shirt that says, sorry, period, can't, period, horses, period, buy, period. And I think it would look... I think it really, it's a woman's shirt, but it looks to me,
good. That looks good.
Checking it out, and, for $37, it looks like you can get, unisex sizes. So I think it's a possibility for you.
Well, that's very nice of you. I would gladly receive the horses T-shirt. That's brilliant. Dana Hull, what do you have for our fellow panelists?
So my algorithm is very strange. I just get a lot of very strange ads. My favorite is this ad for a company called Plushy Dreadfuls, and it's like stuffed animals. That's
a favorite of all of ours.
And I got one, a great cuddle buddy when you're off with the fairies, and it's like a stuffed animal that looks like a psychedelic mushroom. And I don't know. I mean, this could be a gift for Elon Musk himself and his friends. It could be...
This is what you hold while you're on mushrooms, I guess?
Or on ketamine, maybe? Maybe it's like an emotional support stuffy. It's kind of a disturbing-looking stuffed animal that, with a...
We've barely scratched the surface of the, super questionable advertisements that are, on Twitter.
What's wrong
today? X.
Well, my favorite was there was this one that was a drain cleaner foam that I got served many times, and it actually had a community note on it saying that it doesn't actually clean drains. Community notes being the crowdsourced platform fact checker.
Just to give you a sense of how bad it gets, 404 Media, which is like a tech website, ran a story yesterday. Headline: Twitter is just running ads for stealing semen now. And you look at that headline and you think that could not be true. That could not reflect an actual...
But you're saying it is.
It is. There is a company out there that specializes in non-consensual sperm collection kits for artificial insemination. They are advertising on Twitter. I looked...
On X,
excuse me. And it's something like $129 for the kit. I tried to keep track of the costs here because I feel like a gift guide, you want to know how much the drain cleaner costs.
You do want to know. And I will, to wrap it up, the gift section of this show. I've got gifts for all of you. I'm a big spender like that because at $4.99 each, I mean whatever, easy come, easy go. For Max, I got the and I read. I'm just reading the ad textually here. I'm citing flying ball boomerang with LED lights. Fly spinning ball throwaway and it comes back to you. I could just see you and the kids just for hours.
I have that actually. I got it last year.
Okay, so now you got another one coming. For Sarah and the January baby you're waiting for, I've got the Get Nays shark socks. Now, Sarah, these socks, I mean, you're in San Francisco, great white shark capital of the United States of America, and I'm a little shark obsessed myself. They're socks that actually look like the shark is eating the baby's legs. So, these are pretty good. And then for Dana, I know you don't have a car. I figure at some point you'll get a car. Maybe your husband will get you a car.
I do have a car. It's just an old Subaru.
Okay, maybe you could use it for the Subaru. I'm getting you State Farm auto insurance. I mean, here's the thing. They just wore me down. They just kept coming with the ad, and they kept coming into the ad, with the ad in Spanish. And I am, if nothing, a sucker for auto insurance ads in Spanish.
What I love the most about X ads is that if you keep deleting them, I don't like this ad, and then they say, we'll try to make your timeline better, and then the ads just get worse and worse and worse.
But Dana, what's wrong with the gifts I just got you guys? I mean, these are like you don't like the flying ball boomerang for Max? It's a great gift. He's actually already has.
He has one.
I mean,
he's already got.
I should say, the Cheech and Chong gummies we have not talked about, but that they've been one of the big advertisers of the year, but I haven't seen their ads for a while, and I sent a request for comment to Cheech and Chong to ask if they're still advertising. They have not responded to my request for comment.
Okay. Well,
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, when there's an update, when there's a comment from Cheech or Chong, you will let us know. Okay, enough of the silly holiday cheer. Let's call it quits. Thanks for listening to Elon Inc. And thanks to our panel, Dana, Max, and Sarah.
Always a pleasure.
Great to be here.
Thank you as always.
This episode was produced by Stacey Wong. Naomi Shavin and Rehan Harmansi are our senior editors. The idea for this very show also came from Rehan. Blake Maples handles engineering, and we get special editing assistance from Jeff Grocott. Our supervising producer is Magnus Henriksen. Thanks a bunch to Business Week editor Joel Weber. The Elon Inc. theme is written and performed by Taka Yasuzawa and Alex Sugiura. Sage Bauman is the head of Bloomberg Podcast and our executive producer. I am David Papadopoulos. If you have a minute, rate and review our show. It'll help other listeners find us. See you next week.